Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live on Facebook every morning at 10:30, where we gather and we take a look at headline stories and comments about things that affect our lives as English-speaking folk in Puerto Vallarta. It is always a pleasure to be here every single day to share news and content and tips and ideas and suggestions so that we can stay excited and happy to be here. Of course, it's always wonderful to welcome a bunch of people that follow us on every single day or just about every day of the week. But it's also fun to welcome new folks to Coffee and Headlines. So if you're new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco, and we'd love to find out that you're new, and you can help us out by writing the word new in the comments section so we can welcome you accordingly. Along the same lines, if you have any specific questions or comments that are important to you that we share or discuss, it helps us a lot if you add the letter Q to your question so that we can get to it either during the broadcast or immediately after. Best way to keep in touch is by subscribing to this Facebook page. That way you can get alerted to all the broadcasts when they're happening or whenever we publish new content to it. And if you have any questions about specific topics or news items that we discuss and you want to follow the links or you want to find out more about something, we publish the show notes for every broadcast in 3 different places. They are on the YouTube page where the broadcast is also available. Hello to all the people that watch us on YouTube. They're also available on Facebook right after the program is finished, and they're also available on our website. So that's the announcement. Let me take a quick look at who's here. It's always great to see familiar faces and folks that join us just about every day. Claude, it's always great to see you. Craig, David, there's a lot of people here. Some of you call this roll call, and that's really funny. And somebody thinks this seems to be a lot like Romper Room, and why not? Why not? Gayoff, I am so glad that your first day reopening Apache's Bar was a success. Please feel free to tell us more details about it. I know that I'm going to stop by either today or tomorrow to have a cocktail with you guys and wish you the best of luck as you're trying to bring your operation back to a certain sense of normalcy. It's always great to see folks watching us from other places. Christine is in San Miguel de Allende, or St. Michael of yonder, or St. Michael of over there. We decided was going to be the English version of the name of San Miguel. Linda is in Washington. So nice to see all of you. Today is going to be a great day. We have all kinds of fabulous news. I am a little confused because I stayed last night late. I stayed late last night. I'm binging on this television series from Netflix called The Umbrella Academy. Oh my God, these characters are so freaking fascinating. I don't know if you've watched it. I know that some of you have, but it's absolutely wonderful. Russell is watching from Chicago. This is great. Sherry pops in with a question. Are most of the resorts open in PV? I would think yes, Sherry. All the large hotels, for the most part, are open. Of course, they're open with limitations. Right now, hotels are only allowed to have 30% occupancy. And I am seeing that a lot of the smaller hotels are starting to reopen as well. Many already have opened, and then we'll have some specific figures to share from one of the news items that we are sharing this morning. Boom, 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 boom. Alex is new. Watching from Canada. Hello, Alex. Welcome to Coffee and Headlines. Monday through Saturday, we are pretty focused on important stuff with a little bit of leisurely information. Sundays, everything goes haywire, and we don't talk about a single news item. We just behave in as much of a juvenile way as possible. So if you want to just throw caution to the wind on Sundays, feel free to join us on Sunday, where we have Sunday Fun Days, where nothing is sacred and no one is safe. Linda asks, what is normal? I ask, who is serving cocktails at 10:30 in the morning so that I can head in that general direction? Christopher enjoyed Umbrella, and I would love to talk about it with you, Christopher, sometime in the near future. Um, our news today includes talking about the fact that movie theaters have finally reopened, and we'll get into that in detail. But in the meantime, I'm going to drop this question on you. Um, Boom, there you go. Will you be going to the cinemas anytime soon? And before we dive into the news, let me thank you. Thank you for yesterday's comments. Yesterday, for those of you that were not here, I asked you, so what have you learned? What wonderful things have you learned? What have you allowed yourself to explore during the pandemic, now that we seem to have a little bit more time in our hands, or now that we're staying at home more than usual? And some of your answers were absolutely inspiring, and it just makes me feel so happy to know that we are all learning something. I never got around to telling you what I have learned. Well, needless to say, I've learned to launch a community online called Coffee and Headlines, and you've given me so much to learn about in producing and creating this community that I now find myself drawn to every single day, because every day that I learned something new from you guys. I've learned how to control my temper. I've learned how to not be judgmental. I've learned how to better look at the world from the perspective of others. And I picked up my recorder again. I'm playing, and I'm cooking a lot more. I see that a lot of folks are cooking more at home and finding yourself surprised that you don't have to spend so much money um, um, eating out. The flip side of that is that I've also learned to appreciate the restaurants that are in my community, and I try to go out and support them as much as my budget allows. So, great opportunities to learn, great chances to become better people while we're enjoying the pandemic. So we are all here, all 235 of us. It's great to see a big crowd. We'll come back to the poll in a little while, but let us get started with our news, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Here we go. Well, the numbers have spoken, and for better or worse, our country now finds itself the third country with the largest number of coronavirus cases. And this, of course, is making international headlines. While the United States leads by a wide margin, we are now the third country with the most coronavirus deaths, 52,000. I haven't read the whole article to see which country is country number two, but I wanted to let you know that for better or worse, we are now in the spotlight. This article from Noticias PV reflects an article that was published in the New York Times. The title of the article is "I'd Rather Stay Home and Die," and the article speaks to the fear that many Mexicans have of going to the hospital and choosing to stay at home and die instead. This fear is largely rooted uh, under the fact that Mexico public health system has not been the healthiest or most robust public health system for many, many years. And if you care to learn a little bit more about this context, I have researched and found the link to the original New York Times article, which of course is in English, so that we can all take a look at it and get a perspective from this very well respected news source, the New York Times, of course. We also learned that the mayor of Bahia de Banderas, or Banderas Bay Municipality, which is the one right north of Puerto Vallarta, Jaime Cuevas, has tested positive for COVID 19. Let us hope that as he goes through the disease, he doesn't have one of the nasty cases. And that is always interesting to look at, because some people seem to get it really bad, other people seem to not get it as bad. For the most part, I've been fortunate to learn that most of my friends have had the mild version, and we certainly hope that most people out there will have the mild version of coronavirus if we get it and when we get it. Lopez Gatel has announced that there are now 15 states in Mexico where the COVID 19 numbers are on the decrease. The number of active cases is diminishing. Of course, we have to remember that this is because we are following guidelines. So let us assume for a second that all of a sudden all the states were showing less and less cases. Well, if we start relaxing our health measures, which is safe distancing and face masks and stuff like that, chances are that the virus is going to come back. And the reason I'm saying that is not because I'm claiming to be a COVID 19 expert, but simply because it makes sense to me that if the number of cases is decreasing, it's got to be because we're paying attention to the guidelines put forward by our government. Of course, Lopez Gatel also emphasizes, and this is really important, that he is referring to the natural curve of the virus, the pandemic, and not necessarily to possible outbreaks that could appear as a result of our being careless. And I wanted to clarify that, because when he says, some states are having less and less cases, that doesn't mean that we need to start throwing our face masks out the window. And I think it's important to highlight that difference. Contralinea tells us that the number of tourists that is arriving in Puerto Vallarta continues to increase during weekends. And of course, this is good news as long as everybody's behaving properly. As I mentioned before, we see here that 7 hotels, no, I'm sorry, on Friday the 7th, hotel occupation was an average of 23% out of an allowed 30%. And somebody just asked about the number of hotels that are open. This article tells us that there are 39 hotels operating right now. And I'm sure that, again, the number of small hotels is continuing to reopen. We hope that everybody continues to follow the guidelines, of course. Our state governor, Enrique Alfaro, came under the spotlight because while the situation of the construction worker that was murdered, Giovanni, remember, about a month and a half ago, while that situation is still not clarified and nobody really understands or knows exactly what happened and what the outcome of that was, the governor of our state went ahead and allowed singer Alejandro Fernandez's daughter to get married at a wedding where dozens of people attended without showing any kind of regard for safe distancing guidelines. So the governor's coming under fire for allowing the famous and the rich to do certain things, but not taking care of a small but equally important construction worker. Locally, there is this area of the Malecon 2 where there are all these small little Mexican curios and Mexican souvenir shops. This is in the area where between the Los Arcos Amphitheater and the Kuala Pedestrian Bridge. Well, these shop owners are now trying to work with City Hall so that they can reopen their businesses. There's a lot of little shops that are contained within a very tight space, and the government has been reluctant to allow them to reopen. And now they're trying to work in such a way that they can alternate days in which they open. I am reminded of the fact that there are a couple of important mercados in the city of Guadalajara where they face similar circumstances. And in Guadalajara, the city has done exactly the same thing, allowing alternate businesses to reopen on some days of the week while others open on other days of the week, so that everybody can have a chance to improve their economy, which is very much needed. Before we go on, let me take a quick look at your comments and questions to see if there is anything that is important to address. Doom, beam, 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 beam. Other people binging on other things. Logan misses going to the movie theater, and I hear you on that, Logan. And we'll talk about the movie theaters in a second. Paul says, I'd go to the cinema if there was something to see. And I may have something interesting for you to watch, Paul. Give me 1 second. Bum, 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 bum. Noi, my little sister Noi is watching from Bangkok, and it's always lovely to say hello. So far away and so near through technology. Isn't that wonderful? Let's see. Oh, thank you very much for clarifying that, Larry. I imagined as such. I imagined that it was Brazil that was number 2, but I didn't want to say something that was not true. Renee, thank you also for clarifying that for me and for everybody else. Okay, no questions, just a lot of comments. So here we go. Let us continue with headlines because this is really funny. You remember how the city recently hired these YouTubers, Mexican YouTubers, to come and promote the destination. Well, things went south when the YouTubers started making comments on their own social media outlets. One of them posted something along the line, one of them called Bert O, whatever name that is. He posted on his social media something. Oh, it's Juan Berto. So that's him. And he posted that they went on this vehicle on an excursion and they got covered in cow poop, which is an innocent remark, I suppose. But the other YouTuber, Luisito Comunica, who's a very popular one, commented here, I'm still covered in shit. Now, this is, of course, a completely innocent remark, and somebody could say, well, they're just being goofy and silly. But at the same time, when you read these things in the context of social media and in the hands of reporters that have nothing better to do with their time, somebody has decided to interpret these comments as negative. Now, does that mean that the effort was completely a flop? Probably not. But there are influencers and there are influencers, so this may not have been the best solution for the Tourism Bureau here in Puerto Vallarta. Of course, the whole tourism scene is under a lot of flack nationwide because of the snafus that are going on and continue to go on with the National Tourism Destination website, visitmexico.com. But we've talked about that. There's no new changes there. There's just more voices among the high-ranking politicians in the country that continue to complain about the fact that we are completely disregarding tourism promotion in Mexico at a federal level. We know for a fact that this has not been a big priority for President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador, but hopefully the national dependencies that are in charge of doing this will continue to increase their efforts. Along those lines, let me see. We're done with the important news. Let me switch over to the leisurely news. I'll be right back. And here we are with Carrot Weather. Carrot Weather tells us that it is 28 degrees Celsius. It feels like 32 as always. Fahrenheit, it's 83 degrees. Humidity is at 81%. And we see that we have a 7% chance of rain for today. And our weather forecast tells us that we'll have a little bit of rain overnight. Tomorrow, it will continue raining until morning, starting again tomorrow evening. And Thursday, we will have rain again until morning, starting again in the evening. So let us hope that we get a lot of rain. We love our rain, especially during the summer months. But talking about weather and such, what was once a tropical storm Elida, where is my headline? There it is. Tropical storm Elida has now turned into a hurricane, but it has now headed towards Baja California, so it's not affecting us anymore. However, there is another tropical storm already brewing in the southern coasts of Mexico. So it hasn't been named. We know that its name is going to start with an F, and it's probably going to be a boy name since Elida is a girl name. So there you have it. Before we move on to other things, I want to share this bit of gorgeous poetry that my friend Logan shared with me this morning because um, I just thought it was precious. I can relate to this whenever I'm driving, and it looks like this. Be kind, you never know what someone is going through. And also, a personal thought, nice turn signal, fuck face. Sometimes I feel very strongly attached to that, particularly because here in Mexico, people don't seem to understand the use of turn signals. Paul Christ is voting for Hurricane Paco. We're barely at the beginning of the alphabet, my dear. Hopefully, we'll get to that later on. I don't know if there's ever been a Hurricane Paco. Very quickly, before we move on to other leisurely stuff, I'm looking at the results of the poll, and I see that the vast majority of us would feel uncomfortable going to the movie theaters. Um, and I can relate to that. I mean, I can certainly appreciate a good movie, um, but these days I don't know that. I don't know. I still feel iffy about the movie theater. And why are we thinking about this? Because movie theaters have opened. I have taken a look at what's playing, and I'll share with you in a second. This very important question comes from Mexico City. Do you have to wear a face mask while you're sitting and watching the movie? And the recommendation is yes. Yes, you should wear a face mask while you're enjoying your film. So no making out and no kissing. Just out of curiosity, I went to look at what's playing in our local theater, and lo and behold, yes, there isn't anything worthwhile watching, or I didn't recognize any of the movies. Sometimes they change the names to Spanish, and it's difficult to see what they're about. But I can see that some of you are complaining about volume, so let me turn this up a little bit more, hoping that you can hear me louder. There you go. I hope this is better, you guys. Anyhow, there must be a classic film series going on because out of the blue, Rebel Without a Cause is available in the movie theater. Let's hope that this is a series of worth enjoying. Again, I don't know if that's just a random old movie that they're playing or if there's going to be a series. But regardless, we don't seem to be very excited about going to the movie theaters right now. And again, I can certainly relate to that. Before we get into my last leisurely stuff, let me take a quick look at your last minute comments to see what's going on. Boom, boom, boom. Um, some of you say sound is good. Some of you say sound is not so good. I just turned it up just a little bit. Great comment from Mushi. If Gatel goes missing, I know who to call. I love it. I love it. Bum 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 bum. Off the topic, but I can say Sunday Funday is so good. Oh, thank you, Don Marie. Sunday Funday is always unpredictable because I keep an eye open on what's going on through the week, and then we figure out exactly where we're going to go. Um, yes, Rebel Without a Cause on the big screen. Doesn't it sound tempting? I mean, I know, and I hear you, Logan. It's also one of my big time favorites. I remember studying it when I was in college, when I was taking film scoring classes. And, it is one of those things in which, do we risk going to the movies? Do we not? I don't know. It's part of the new normal. So whenever somebody decides to go to the movies, please let us know so we can have an idea of what the experience is like. Um, don't see a hurricane, Paco, but Paul is coming around in 2024. I love it. Okay, so we're at the end of our comments, and I have one more headline to share with you, which is neither leisurely uh, nor serious. I don't know what it is, but I was just asking my friend Paul about this the other day because Paul keeps track of US politics quite closely. But now, our friends at Vox have published this article how Trump's mail voting sabotage could result in an election night nightmare. And I have been curious about this because I was not understanding properly what is the relationship between mail in ballots and voting in person and so forth and so on. And I'm looking forward to reading this because even though it doesn't relate much or directly to my life or our lives here in Puerto Vallarta, it sure comes up in conversation. And it's nice to be able to be part of most people's conversation. And look at this, it's only 10:56. Today's broadcast turned out to be a little bit on the short side. If anybody has any important questions or comments that you wish to share, this would need to be the moment to do it. If not, as always, it is a great pleasure to share news and headlines with you. And it is always great and wonderful to hear what you have to say back. Your suggestions and your comments always nurture these broadcasts. Um, and as always, I'm grateful for your support whenever it is possible. We are a community based project, we don't have any advertisers. And it is because of that that we can actually focus on quality content, and that continues and will always be the first and foremost priority here in this particular project. There are other newspapers and publications and websites that rely on advertisers. We don't, so that we can keep you, the reader, or in this case, the viewer, as the primary goal. Patricia Roberts asked a last minute question: Are the food vendors on the Malecon open? I don't think so, Patricia, because the Malecon itself is not even open for pedestrians. There is a throughway open just for you to get to from one place to another, but the city has not opened the Malecon for leisurely strolls, and I don't know exactly when they will. Um, there's another question, Dave Riddings. Any news on my upcoming vacation? Well, I'm looking forward to day trips here and there. I don't think I'm going to be going anywhere for more than one day or night, possibly. But we keep looking for opportunities. Right now, I'm looking at some cabañas, some cabins in the mountains that I'm really eager to explore. And I'm working with some friends to see the logistics of going away to some cabañas. What happened to the sea monkey? If you're referring to the bar that's on the Malecon, I have no idea. If you're referring to something else, I have no idea, Karen. Didn't know that there was something wrong with the sea monkey. Um, are the vendors selling merchandise are open around town? If you mean the walking vendors, yes, they're here, there, and everywhere. If you mean shops, shops are allowed to open. Oh my goodness, all kinds of last minute questions. And Sheila echoes my sentiment that something happened to the sea monkey. Again, I haven't seen any headlines or news about the sea monkey. So it's difficult to say. Sylvie comments that she's starting to tour again with open air jeeps. That's wonderful. Best of wishes with that. And that is, again, a good moment to stop. I thank you, as always, for being part of Coffee and Headlines. And I wish you a wonderful Tuesday. Stay kind, stay happy, stay friendly, stay healthy, and best of all, stay in touch. Take care.